Hey, Horns, I've been kind of breaking out here recently, and I think it's because of these beauty products. So I'm not going to use them anymore. If you want them, take them.
Oh yeah, is this all that She-Hulk beauty package you bought? That's cool. Yeah, I'll grab a few of these. Let me get this guy. I'll take this tube, and I don't know what this bottle
No,
is, but
not. You can't have that one. Can't have that one.
what is it?
That's the She-Hulk lube. It's actually valuable.
Oh, that's kind of the only one I actually want.
Sorry. I mean, I'll go halfsies with you.
Nah, I'm good. Welcome into the Bro Force Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. I'm your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys so much for checking us out for our review of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Episode 5. Here to review it using the 4 Bro Force Squad television review criteria that we do all of our TV reviews with, which is the acting, the story, our favorite scene, and theories and questions with the show going forward. I am joined by the mad scientist, our own Brian Banner, and we toss it into the lab first. Brian, episode 5, past the halfway point of She-Hulk. This episode was titled Mean, Green, and Straight Poured Into These Jeans. What did you think of the acting and the cast in this episode?
I mean, acting isn't the problem with this show. I actually think everybody has done a pretty good job with what they're given. Just when you're given crap, you're going to get crap out.
It's the George Lucas effect, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Loved Pug. Sorry, I'm a little behind here trying to look up the actor's name.
Josh Segarra.
Josh Segarra. Thought he was great. Completely different Pug than what we've seen before.
Well, and didn't you bring up a good
still
point?
Liked it.
Was his voice way different in this? Like he talked in a completely different cadence and like speech rhythm.
Yeah, I want to chalk it up to when we've seen him previously. It was a more professional setting, and this is more of like I'm just hanging out with the boys kind of a setting. Like we all know we act differently at home than we do at work, so that was kind of what I chalked it up to. Because honestly, I mean, you don't need. This is getting fucking raked over the coals. I didn't even realize. 2.2 on IMDb.
Oh, it's down to that?
Yeah.
Jesus. I didn't realize that. Wow.
But yeah, sorry, got a little distracted. Josh Segarra's Pug, and I know that we've kind of roasted her a little bit. Ginger Gonzaga playing Nikki. I actually liked her in this episode too. They had a kind of a good little chemistry going in their scenes together. Other than that, not a lot to write home about.
Yeah, Ginger Gonzaga, I think, is doing a great job as Nikki. She's a role player. Like if it were an NBA playoff series, she'd be playing like 8 minutes a game, and we just need her to maybe knock down a 3 and play some defense.
Yeah.
And she's doing a good job at that. She's definitely not overacting, and I feel like the way Nikki is written, that could be easy to do, to be like a little too like obnoxious kind of with some of the stuff her character has to do, but she's done a good job being a supporting role.
Yeah,
and of course,
really staying in her lane, which I enjoy.
Yeah, and this episode was kind of fun because she's really only been with Jen in the show, and we got her with Pug almost exclusively here, which was kind of cool. Let me bring up a few people just briefly that it's just one isn't working for me. One I really liked, and I don't think we'll get much more of her in the show, and I think that's a shame. First off, Jamila Jamil as Titania. And I have a question about her character that we'll ask at the very end that Nate Thurman brought up. But is she the antagonist of this show? Because if she is, wow, that is pathetic.
I don't have an answer.
Okay.
Because I honestly, I mean, of this episode, is that your question? Is
she the
antagonist of this episode? Then yes. Of the series as a whole or the season as a whole, that's a great fucking question.
I hope we
should not be asking that question halfway through the season.
Yeah, that's my one issue. And Jamila Jamil, maybe I've heard she's decent in The Good Place, but whatever she's doing here as Titania is doing less than nothing for me. Josh Segarra as Pug was the standout for me. He's going to be in my best scene. And then an actor who I think is more than capable, and I wish she was in this more, was Renee Elise Goldsberry, who played Mallory, who was Jen's lawyer in this. And I really liked, she's obviously like more than capable as an attorney, but her relationship with Jen, it's just a fun dynamic to go from competitive rivals to now like it's in both of their best interest that she wins this case. I just thought that was sort of a fun dynamic. In an episode where there really was not much going on, that was something I was kind of interested in.
Correction, you mean a show where there's not much going on?
Ah, yes. All right, have anything else, or to move on to story?
Let's go on story.
All right, Banner. There is no plot to this series, but the plot to this episode is She-Hulk discovers Titania owns the name She-Hulk and is suing her for trademark infringement. What'd you think of the plot here? Episode 5.
I'm going to pass on this one.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. I'm just going to have to jump ahead and get to one of my theories and questions here because I'm going to ask something as we see the quote-unquote plot become a court case of the week with clearly no... If there's an overarching narrative, it's been dropped in so sparsely that it's almost not even worth like mentioning. But why is this 9 episodes?
I don't have an answer for you. I think we oversold ourselves, or at least I oversold myself. Marvel is not what Marvel used to be, and I'm coming to that realization very quickly after Moon Knight and Thor: Love and Thunder, and now this. This is not the MCU. This is not the Infinity Saga anymore.
Yeah.
We have moved on from that, and I think we all just need to accept that. I love Ally McBeal, and so I thought it was a great show back in the day. And so whenever you tell me, hey, I'm going to give you a superhero Ally McBeal show, on paper that sounds really good. But now that we're playing it out, it doesn't work. You have to have more connective tissue in a superhero show like this than what an Ally McBeal style gives you. And that's the problem with this.
I don't think I dislike this actively as much as I dislike Moon Knight, but the thing I'll give Moon Knight one piece of credit for, at least it took a swing and tried to do something. This show just seems incredibly content on just sitting there week to week making a few one-off jokes. Like, I just don't understand it's not funny enough to be a comedy, and there's certainly nothing dramatic happening.
This is a perfect show for a mid-40s woman who just put their kids to bed, can pour a glass of wine to, and just literally veg out and do nothing. Not pay attention to it. You may get a giggle here and there. And that's what this show is.
I don't actively hate it. I don't want people to think like...
No, I don't hate it. I just don't like it.
Right. It's just it's not appointment viewing for me. Like, it's a nice kind of background watch, and I never thought I'd get to the point where a She-Hulk show or anything in the MCU would have that low of a priority for me. So again, not much to talk about with the story. This is another one-off court case. This one is about copyright infringement for beauty products. So,
which how we even get to that point, I'm confused on.
It's a bit odd.
We'll probably talk about that in theories and questions here in a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to best scene. We might have the same one. I got to go with Pug talking about his drip guy and wanting to buy the new Iron Man 3s, him being a sneakerhead. That whole scene, and then the way that Nikki was like making deals with him, he was like, "You're trying to cash in a favor for the favor you haven't even done yet." I thought that was a really fun exchange. And I'm
not charging you interest.
Yeah, that's true. Favor interest. It made me want more of those two characters because, like I said, we've pretty much only seen Nikki with Jen to this point, and her and Pug had a really good rapport, I thought.
Yeah, I thought that their chemistry was really good, and that whole back and forth, and I'm just going to piggyback off of that. And once they went to the is it the boba tea shop?
Yeah.
And
the guy goes, "This is a boba tea shop. What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah. It's like, no. Alonzo sent me, like the drip guy. Like that, I thought that whole scene, and then them waiting in front of the little elevator thing with all the knockoff memorabilia.
The Avengers and the Avengers.
I thought all of that worked really well, and mainly because it had nothing to do with anything else. It was like a funny SNL skit or something that you'd just see like a quick 2-minute thing on YouTube.
Yeah. I do kind of want an Avengers shirt now.
Not mad about it.
So you could get around the copyright with that. Yeah, again, not much of significance happened this episode, and it's not like the show's trying to do anything like that. I think the show is hitting the sweet spot that it wants to hit. It's just, for me, it's not resonating, and it's not like a high risk, high reward show. Moon Knight was. That's one thing I will give it credit for. It was swinging for the fences. With me, it just K'd. But this show was just content sitting there trying to give you a few laughs, and then being 24 minutes, and we move on to next week.
I think we also need to remember that IMDb fucked us up from the beginning by saying, oh, we're going to get Mark Ruffalo in this every episode. We're going to get Charlie Cox every episode.
Yeah.
And we still have yet to see Charlie Cox. I do think we're going to get him probably in the next episode. Maybe
we have
the next one, but the one after that.
But are they going to neuter him and make him like a fucking comedian?
I hope not. But probably. I'm just afraid that they're going to ruin Charlie Cox as Daredevil, unfortunately. And I guess let's move on to theories and questions right now, because that is a good little segue.
Yeah.
Are they going to ruin him as Daredevil? We've seen him as this really dark, gritty, underground, street-level superhero in the Daredevil series. Now, we know that this is a reboot or reimagining or whatever you want to call it, so they're not the same character, just the same actor.
Right.
I'm glad that we got clarification on that. So I can kind of hedge my anticipation for it a little bit, my expectations a little bit for it. But what do you think?
So it's definitely going to be a different iteration of Daredevil with sort of the same spirit, with Charlie Cox coming back, and I'm fine with that. Like, he was even lighter toned in the brief scene we saw him in Spider-Man No Way Home. But at the same time, we need to keep the spirit of the character, in my opinion. And he can't come out like juggling and with a rubber chicken, you know? He can make a joke or two. He doesn't have to be as...
I mean, he is blind.
Right. He doesn't have to be as brooding as he was in the Netflix series, although I loved that adaptation of him. But I had read, I don't want to tell you, and I don't want to spoil it for our fans, but I have read the description of how he comes into this show, and it actually reminds me a lot of his scene at the beginning of season 2 of the Netflix Daredevil with him and the Punisher. So it doesn't appear to be played as a joke. But again, I need to see it.
I don't think this is going to happen, but maybe it will. I would like this show to, in the next 2 episodes, you only got 2 episodes to do it because of your season length, but this show has to completely change its tune. I think we're going to get Abomination back at least once.
So we have 4 episodes left, right? There's
right.
9?
I believe, yes.
Okay.
And I think that they need to really change the whole tone and kind of direction of the show and make this a little bit darker and grittier. And I can't believe I'm going to say it, but we need to get out of the courtroom more. They're getting bogged down in these silly court cases, and we need like something high stakes.
Well, the weird thing is, like, if they're going to introduce the central plot, like you said, we're in the latter third of this series. Like, I thought it was going to be the Abomination case. It wasn't. I thought it might be the Superhero Defense Council being a front for something else. And maybe it still will be, but we've spent 0 narrative time, like, even trying to scratch that itch. Then I thought it might be setting up the Thunderbolts in some way. That could still happen. Nothing even remotely hinted at that. Then I thought it might be something to do with Wong. He appears to be gone. And then if you want to talk about like Hulk coming back, I think I would put the chance of Bruce Banner reappearing in an episode that isn't the finale at like 10%.
Even at the finale, I'd still put it maybe 15%.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see him back. I don't see others anyway.
I don't either. I feel like that the way that they revisited him in the episode where he was on the phone with Jen was it was basically like a post-credit scene.
Yeah, it was a send-off, like, all right, he's off doing his own thing. Now we can really get into the meat and potatoes here.
Yeah. And that actually was one of my theories, as I just said, there is no bigger story or bigger villain, but the last episode of this will have some sort of end credit scene, and that will basically be all we get to set something up. Could be Thunderbolts, could be some character showing up that She-Hulk will appear in their movie. I'm trying to think what else is coming out.
Echoes? Could this have something to do with Echoes?
Very possibly, yeah. Daredevil Born Again could be teased here. Maybe we'll get Kingpin or someone else. But I don't. I think this is going to be a. It's episodic. It's not serialized. So it's like each week, there is a continuing thread, but it's like a normal sitcom. Like it's like, all right, what's the comedic situation we're going to be put in this week, and then we'll wipe the slate clean when we meet you again next Thursday.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I don't even know what to think anymore, to be honest with you.
I do have a question I want to ask you.
Okay.
So Holloway, excuse me, played by Steve Coulter, the head of the Superhero Defense Council. This episode, he was only in one scene, acting very weird. So my question is he a Skrull? Is he hypnotized? Is he drunk? Is he a drunk Skrull? Do you have any theories on this guy? Because it was weird when we saw him this episode.
Yeah, he has to have some bigger role in all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or does he? At this point, I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we're just giving the show too much credit.
Right. I mean, it feels like he has to have a much bigger role or some sort of significance other than, hey, I got her job or gave her job as She-Hulk. Other than that, like, I don't know.
It seems like he has some nefarious other plan for Jen, but nothing has, to my knowledge, has really been put into motion to push her. I mean, he's kind of been a dick boss, but I feel like that's sort of standard practice at these high-end law firms. Like it's high pressure.
I mean, he's got to have some sort of overarching something, and he's acting weird. Like there's ulterior motives there. Will they come out in this show, or are they just planting a seed for possibly sometime later on?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't remember the name of the guy from WandaVision who was the head of SWORD, but originally I was definitely getting vibes of him from Holloway, but he's not as competent as that guy is.
No, which is sad because that guy was kind of a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah, that dude is making you look like a dumbass. What else do you have?
Like, in the MCU, traditionally, everything means something, right?
Yeah. Big or little, I agree.
This doesn't matter. Like, none of this matters. This isn't like a glue. Like, I kind of took Avengers Age of Ultron. That was kind of a glue, a connective tissue to get us to the next iteration or kind of the next big storyline in Civil War and the fallout, which obviously we know has huge repercussions come Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't even have that. Like, this isn't even just like a where are we going to see She-Hulk and how this character fits in literally anywhere else in the MCU.
I think the one thing too that and you kind of do have to address this at some point, but the way it's doing it is really cutting the legs out from Marvel. But the way She-Hulk is treating the existence of superheroes now in the MCU, because they're so ubiquitous, like they're everywhere, is it's basically like they don't matter. Like she's literally walking around the streets as a superhero and people don't even bat an eye. And you knew that it was going to happen at a certain point because of so many characters Marvel was introducing into this world. But that oversaturation point honestly kind of makes the world not as fun. It's like Zootopia, basically. Like everyone's an animal, everyone's a superhero,
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I don't know, and I think I posed this to you in an off-pod text thread, but like I think I'm getting not necessarily superhero oversaturation and kind of desensitized to it, but just MCU. And I can't believe I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of over it. They've had the last few things that they've come out with, obviously this, not
Miss
great. Ms. Marvel, which I actually really enjoyed.
I did too.
I was going to, but I really enjoyed that. So, okay, they're 1 for 2 there. Moon Knight, swing and a miss. I'll give them a half point for that because they tried.
Yeah.
Like really tried.
Was Hawkeye before that, or what was
Hawkeye that? was right before that. Hawkeye worked.
I loved Hawkeye, yeah.
But Hawkeye had a lot of strings attached still to the Infinity Saga and the fallout of that.
Correct.
So they're getting away from what they're good at.
I guess here's where I'm at.
Thor: Love and Thunder was just a fucking joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was rough.
They actually had a shot to get a villain right, like really right, and they just completely shit on it. That's a whole nother conversation. So
Multiverse of Madness was decent.
it was fine.
I had too high of expectations, though, I'll admit.
Yeah. But they really played that up for a long time.
I guess this is where I'm at. I've seen everything MCU pretty much the day it's come out, with the exception of a few things, just because of my schedule. And we watched or at least, did you watch all of What If?
Oh yeah, I actually liked half of the What Ifs, and I like the idea of them being anthology, not necessarily really connecting. The more I thought about it, the more I actually really liked What If.
And that was inherently a pretty ballsy show to try and do. Like, each one was not going to work, but the ones that did work, I really liked. I'm just wondering, because I feel the exact same way you do. I'll know that I'm really reached my tipping point if there's something from the MCU that I just straight up don't watch. And I'm looking at their upcoming slate, and I don't have one like picked off the top of my head that I'm so disinterested in that I won't see it. Werewolf by Night might be it. The thing that I just don't watch. I mean, I'll probably watch the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'll watch the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, but yeah. I don't know. The fact that I'm even considering that now sort of shows you how the MCU has gotten to the point where they're just putting out so much content that even I'm starting to realize, like, I've been their most staunch defender. It's not all required viewing, you know?
I agree. I think it's just too much too fast right now. I don't think they're necessarily thinking things out as far as they did prior. We would get 2 movies. If we got 2 movies and a show a year, or maybe 2 movies and two shows a year,
that'd be cool.
That is a perfect balance. But what, in 2022 we've gotten, it's not even all the way through 2022. We've got 3 movies and 4 shows.
Yeah, and we have Black Panther coming out, and I think this is the last show of the year. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that sounds.
I
think that sounds right.
There are people screaming at their phone like, no, this fucking comes out. Sorry,
look, guys, we're recording this over the internet. We have no way to look this up while we're.
Yeah, how would I look up that information?
Just get off our back. We're not perfect.
Well, we're pretty close.
Okay. You're right. When you're right, you're right.
I have 2 other really quick things.
Okay.
The first one, a theory, and I hadn't even really thought about this up till this point. We've talked about Daredevil showing up. We've talked about the possibility of Kingpin. How do you feel about, I've heard a lot of rumors that Deborah Ann Wool has been recast again as Karen Page. I haven't heard anything about Eldon Henson as Foggy Nelson, who I hated. How do you feel about Foggy Nelson showing up and possibly Karen Page, but Foggy Nelson being recast in this series?
I wouldn't be mad either way. He didn't bother me in the Daredevils. I know you really hated him.
Yeah, he gave me some issues.
But he didn't bother me any. I would be fine either way, though. I don't know that. I mean, honestly, if you're going to introduce somebody just because you need to, this is the show to do it.
Yeah.
So that's not out of the realm of possibility.
I don't have a fan cast for Foggy off the top of my head. I just would not want it to be Eldon Henson again.
Yeah. I thought he did fine. I would be fine with any of those, honestly. Or Bernthal coming back as Punisher.
I think Rosario Dawson already let that slip.
But he's not.
That he is.
Oh, he is? Okay.
And then she had to backtrack. It's like, no, I was just saying it would be really. She goes, I can't wait to work with John again as the Punisher. And everyone's like, oh, and she's like, fuck.
Yeah, she fucked up. I think let's be honest. If you bring anybody back from the Netflix shows, aside from what's his face, Flynn that played Danny Rand, would anybody be upset?
What was that guy's name? Yeah, everybody else was fucking awesome. Mike Coulter is Luke Cage. I think Kristen Ritter's still showing up in this,
which would be cool.
She's great. I need Mike Coulter as Luke.
Is there okay? Let me ask you this. This just came to me. Would your stance on the show, we're both just kind of like meh about it, would it change if the Defenders showed up and recruited She-Hulk?
1,000%, yes.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be badass.
What do you set the over-under at that? Like, it's not going to happen, right?
9.5%.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. But
and I'd probably take the under.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I mean, we know we're getting Daredevil, Charlie Cox. Like, that's in a fucking trailer. That's happening.
We saw his helmet here, yeah.
Yeah, we saw his helmet in this episode. Kristen Ritter coming back. That's rumored pretty heavily. Now you have Foggy Nelson, possibly Karen Page coming back. Like they're starting to put these pieces in where we can legitimately think about this and legitimately like they've set the pieces in motion where it could happen. I don't think it's
Set
going
up
to.
some dominoes, and then knowing that the Daredevil Born Again series is what, like 18 or 20 episodes, you're gonna need to lay a lot of
Is
ground.
it really that long?
Yeah, it's the longest series by far they've ever done.
Oh wow. I
Yeah.
did not realize it was going to be that long. That makes me have even more hope for it.
Yeah, because that I think should basically serve as like a Defenders setup, like the whole
Yeah.
series. I mean, what else are you gonna do with Daredevil? He could be investigating one case the whole time; it'd be interesting as fuck. But there's so many cool street level heroes that Marvel wants to play with that they need to bring in. You know?
Yeah. And I mean they've done the job like we said. She-Hulk is just walking around as She-Hulk right now, and people are just like, meh, it's whatever. So they can be more. They don't have to be as secretive. They could be a little bit more out in the public
Mm-hmm.
as these street level heroes, and it works better. So I think that maybe they're trying to get away from the movies as much and trying to do just kind of these comic runs where there's 6, 10 episodes or comics in this run, and they're gonna kind of fill that out, and then we can we need She-Hulk for 2 episodes and this other thing. Will you come back?
Yeah, I think part of this too is like Secret Wars is supposed to be. It'll almost just be like a nerdgasm. Like the story might not make sense, but at the end we need a scene where like literally 50 people show up, and so She-Hulk is part of that. Like the oh my god when like they're gonna try and top the portal scene, not in terms of quality, but I think in terms of quantity.
Yeah.
Which at this point would be a great. I think the MCU should end after the multiverse saga personally and just reboot the whole thing with the X-Men from the jump. And what better way to do that than bring back every Marvel character that's ever been portrayed in a movie, basically, or show?
Which would be amazing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with the reboot. I think, and I mean, anytime you throw the X-Men in there, I'm on board.
Because at that point it'll have been almost 20 years. It comes out in 2025. Iron Man was 2008, so
Yeah.
almost 20 years. Reboot the thing. You have all the rights to everybody back. You can
And
start
now
from
you
scratch.
can literally build it from scratch how you want to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they had their hands tied at the beginning. Like Iron Man was not their first choice.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
obviously made it work, but yeah, I agree. I think that we're on the back nine of the MCU here.
Definitely. All right, I only have one more thing. So if you have anything else,
No, I titled my notes She-Hulk episode. I don't even care anymore. Story, I literally just put pass, and theories doesn't even matter.
Now, before people at home start ringing their fists, like I'm not going to listen to the review of episode 6, guys. We're fucking front runners. If episode 6 is good, I'll be right back on the bandwagon here. If they bring Daredevil in and it's badass,
I'll flip flop all day long.
Yeah. My last thing I had, Nate Thurman brought this up, so I'm just reading this on his behalf. Why the fuck isn't Titania in jail? She literally broke into a courtroom and tried to kill a federal judge.
Yeah, you can do that. That's a misdemeanor.
Oh, my bad. As long as you say that you
in New York, obviously
had a sugar imbalance, then you're good.
Yeah.
And I don't really care, but the fact that now she's like suing the protagonist of the show, I'm like, what?
What? From what I can gather, and again, this isn't a show like a lot of the like WandaVision and Hawkeye and even Moon Knight. I went back and rewatched episodes. I have yet to rewatch. I think I rewatched the first episode of this just because I was so.
First episode's pretty good, actually.
I was so confused by it at the time. Looking back now, yes, it's probably the best episode of the series. I think they mentioned Free Titania in the last episode, like once.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, yeah, let's just free her. Okay, cool. She's free.
Super bizarre.
Like, I mean, that's all the explanation we get.
I get the people that are like, Thanos was right, kind of. But, like, I really don't understand that she broke into a courtroom and threw a bench at a judge. Like, what is the... And then her only defense was that she had, like, low blood sugar. Like, where does the defense for that come from? I don't really get it.
I mean, really, this is on her doctor's phone. She had a physical last month.
That's
they
true.
should have caught that.
She ran out of granola bars, man.
I mean, supply chain issues. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Those are the first thing hit. All right, Brian, you have anything else? Ready to let the people go?
No, let's let the people go. I think we've pretended to like this and bitch about it enough. We're still... I mean, look, we're still in it. I'm going to watch this to the end. Like we said earlier, I don't hate it. I'm just not necessarily enjoying... Like, I don't look forward to it.
Moon Knight I had active dislike for. Hawkeye I had active love for. This is I'm just apathetic to right now, but again, I reserve the right to get completely excited the second they show something cool that I like, which I think is coming.
I really hope it's coming. I hope that this was originally a 6-episode series, and then they said, let's make it 9 so we can add this, that, and the other in.
Mm-hmm.
And they just had to add a little too much fluff to make that happen.
Right. That is kind of what it feels like. Again, it'll be easier when we have the full picture, but right now, yeah, I feel like there's a few episodes that they almost feel like Marvel one-shots. Do you remember those?
I do remember those, but those were better.
Yeah, those were actually more significant to the
They
plot.
were hilarious, some of them too.
Yeah, that's true.
The one with Sam Rockwell in jail.
Yeah, with All Hail the King. That one actually ends up having huge implications.
It does. Yeah.
Glad you thought of that. All right, for the mad scientist Brian Banner, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek. We are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Join us for our episode 6 review next week. You can follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts if you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words. We're also on Amazon. I don't know if it's like music or podcast, but if you go on Amazon, you can find us. And everything's on our website, broforcesquad.com. Till next time, we'll see you in the courtroom.
Hey, do you have that shield hair removal? I'm going to need that one back, actually.
I think I gave that back to you. I remember specifically putting it in your hand because you lingered.
Do you have any extra?
Yeah, step into my closet.